Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at the legend that is John Fogerty, and I've been messaged by quite a few people actually about the recent legacy recordings that John has released. We're going to be taking a look at Fortunate Son tonight, and we'll be comparing that with the original recording and some live performances as well. And just for reference, John is 80 years of age now. As always, the links to these videos can be found in the description below if you want to watch them the whole way through without the analysis and comparisons and all that kind of stuff. And I have seen that there have been a lot of discussions about this on the internet and Reddit posts and all that kind of stuff. So we will jump into it. And we'll listen to John's legacy version of Fortunate Son, which was released 2 months ago. And let's just let it play through. It's going to be the isolated vocal so that we can just kind of get a vibe as to where John's voice is. Let's have a listen.
Some folks are born silver spoon in hand. Lord, don't they help themselves, y'all? But when the tax man come to the door, Lord, the house look like a rubbing sail, yeah. It ain't me.
Right, I'm just going to jump in here because the first thing to say is that John has an amazing voice and has had an amazing voice. So he's got the ability to, first of all, be this accurate pitch-wise. And it's actually quite good that this isn't really heavily pitch corrected. We've got this freedom for John's voice to go from below the G4 to then just kind of arch over the G4. There's a lot of freedom here. And the thing about the vocal that really sticks out is the rasp that is in there. So I'm just going to listen again.
It ain't me. I ain't no fighting one. Some folks are born silver spoon in hand. Lord, don't they help themselves, y'all?
So yeah, there's a lot in there. Now what I'm going to do is compare this to a live performance from 2020. Let's just have a listen, and we'll go to around the same place.
Some folks are born silver spoon in hand. Lord, don't they help themselves? But when the taxman comes to the door, Lord, the house look like a rummy sail.
So now, for me, that voice of John's, 5 years ago, it is quite clearly more nasal, and we don't have the rasp in there. Let's listen again.
But when the taxman comes to the door, Lord, the house look like a rummy sail.
So it's like this. It's kind of got that close sound to it. Now we go back to the recent release from just 2 months ago.
But when the taxman come to the door, Lord, the house look like a rubbing sail, yeah.
And now we've got this, rather than that sound, we've now got It's got all that kind of body and sound to it, and actually, more rasp than probably I'm doing there. So there's a whole element to this voice where you think, well, John can definitely hit these notes live, and he's still got the range. And this is something to say that John still has the range to do this and still does this fully live. He's not lip syncing or miming or using auto-tune live, anything like that. And like I said, he's 80 now and he's still absolutely nailing this. I'm going to try and find the live performance, which is here, and have a listen to this. Actually, let me just mute the other performances.
The folks are born silver spoon in hand. Lord, don't you help them? When the taxman comes to the door, Lord, the house look like a rubbish. It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no millionaire.
So yeah, I mean, very similar to, and this is 2024, by the way, very similar to 2020.
When the man played to to carry that shit. It ain't me. It ain't me. They're suicide.
Yeah, so it's still kind of got this this kind of covered sound. But, I mean, that is something that I would expect at this age and performing live and, multiple songs and performing for a long time. When I say a long time, up until the age of 80. But a long time during a set and performing multiple songs. But it's great that this is as authentic as you're going to get. He just gets up on stage and he just, belts it out. And the tone might be ever so slightly different, but he's still hitting these notes. He's still got this range, which is absolutely amazing, performing it in exactly the same key, as he did originally. So, it's really impressive from that standpoint, and I really respect that. And this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm into, is the artistry of just getting up there and just giving it all that you can vocally, and just giving the public your voice, just your natural voice, and just being totally transparent and honest and just putting your artistry out there. So it's great. And we do have analysis videos on John on the channel that I've done in the past, where it's always been like that. He's just been a great singer and a great artist. So now when we get back to the recent release, I just want to have a quick listen and kind of, again, bed my ear into this 2024 vocal.
Baby, I ain't no million after. Baby, ain't no fucking anyone.
Yeah, so we've still got that covered sound. Let me just jump back into this.
Ain't me, it ain't me. Ain't no million that down. It ain't me.
And it's weird because you hear elements of that covered sound in this vocal.
Down.
Like there. No. There's a little bit of that closed sound.
It ain't me. It ain't me. Ain't no fighting and war down.
So it is interesting that we've got such a different vocal sound. There's something right at the beginning of a vocal phrase that just sounds, I don't know, it sticks out to my ear.
It ain't me. It ain't me.
And it was just there. This part here.
It ain't me.
So right at the beginning, between this G4 and the G sharp 4, we have an onset of the vocal that for some reason it just doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like a human voice. Just that first part. I don't know why it's sticking out to my ear, and I will just let this play. It's that. I don't know what it is about that sound, but it sounds kind of robotic and something that is not a natural onset of vocal cords, but something that's almost being produced unnaturally.
It ain't me.
And then it's not related to the rest of the vocal.
It ain't me.
I don't think you would do that.
It ain't me. It ain't me. It ain't me.
So I'm hoping that you guys can pick this out. You might be able to put on headphones and maybe hear this tiny bit at the beginning. And I mean, the only reason that I'm bringing this up is because some people have said, have they used AI? So taken John's voice now and he's performed it, but then fed his voice into AI, so that AI then processes the performance that he's done now, but have put in the sound of his old voice and therefore the rasp. And this bit right at the beginning here, there is something about that just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't ring true as a totally natural vocal. I've never heard that sound before with John's voice, but anybody's voice having a tiny bit of, and this is where the vocal cords come together. I've never heard vocal cords come together and sound mechanical. It's all, sometimes there's a cry in there and you hear them come together and then ascend to the note. But it never sounds like a mechanical sound that's maintaining pitch, and then suddenly the vocal then comes in straight after.
Let me.
And it's the same thing here. This is the last chorus. And when you've heard it once, you can now listen out for it. Yeah, it's almost like that first part of that phrase isn't really connected to the rest of the voice. It's like whatever the noise is, and then voice, and in the previous example, whatever the noise was, and then voice. But when you're listening to a voice, a natural voice, I've never been aware of that happening, where it sounded like there's a weird sound at the beginning and then the voice comes in. So there's no way of me being able to say conclusively that they've used AI in order to achieve this. All we can do is compare one vocal, such as this one from the 2020 performance.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no millionaire, sir.
And what I'll do is mute that. And now listen to the legacy version.
Yeah. It ain't me. It ain't me. Ain't no millionaire, sir, dog.
Yeah, there's just that tiny bit now sticks out so much more because I've kind of looped it and listened to it. I can't really say what that is. I can't conclusively say that that's AI. That's just AI making a noise and making that noise a particular pitch before then suddenly getting into the rest of it. Or it could potentially have been AI that's turned John's natural vocal into a note and tried to put rasp on that note, but it was only a split second, so that's why it's not quite done it correctly, or made that particular part sound authentic. But we can't say anything conclusively.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no bartending water.
I ain't no millionaire, sir.
But I think a lot of people listening to these two voices, and this is probably why I've been asked to look at it, they're listening to the two voices and thinking, well, that voice that we just heard was 5 years ago. So how has John's voice improved so much over the last 5 years? And the performance that we heard from 2024, where again we've got this covered sound, and I know people are asking me to come up with a conclusion and proof of what's going on. There's no way that I can prove it. All we can do is compare a voice from last year to then this year, and a voice from 2020 to this year, and see if we can hear any differences. I think there are differences, and quite dramatic differences. And I would say that with this vocal, and again, this is not me stating that this is a fact, but for as long as I've done these analysis videos, I've never heard this happen. First of all, for a voice of someone to regenerate and be able to sound like it did, decades earlier, and suddenly have a chest voice rasp in there, because that's something that is one of the first things to go with age. If you've been belting in chest voice, you'll then kind of lose some of that, especially if you're an in-demand performer, somebody who's been touring the world, doing night after night. Sometimes there are singers who will progress with their careers and in age, and they haven't been touring the world, haven't been playing night after night after night, so that they can still maintain their rasp and belting because they're not doing it night after night after night. So when you're talking about somebody like John, who has been doing it and is still doing it, getting that reversal in the sound of the voice I've never heard before. And another thing I've never heard before is this little mechanical sound that we get on a couple of these phrases that we enter into the chorus, and I don't know what to put that down to. I'm not saying it's AI. All I'm saying is I've never heard it before. The only way you're going to be able to conclusively answer that question is talking to the production team and get an insight on what they have done to this recording. I know that some people will say, oh, it's the original vocal that they've used, and it's not the original vocal that they've used. This is it on the right hand side, and when it is exactly the same vocal, the same audio, the lines on one side will match the lines on the other side because it's the same audio file. And you know, you can go through this if you want to, but take my word for it, nothing matches up. You can scoot through both performances and you won't get any replications, any lines going over lines. They're all different. But that is the video for tonight, just giving you guys information, and you guys can make what you will of it. And I mean, it has been an interesting one to take a look into, and it might be the case that in the future this kind of thing might be happening more and people will be asking questions. I think it's only natural to start asking questions about AI because of the amount of things that have been happening with AI recently in re-releases and creating songs with singers' voices who haven't actually even recorded those songs, but people have fed it into AI without the singer's permission or the record label's permission or the permission of the copyright owners or publishing company that owns the songs, and all these millions of things that have been done that should really be illegal, but yeah, none of that's been policed. So it means that we're now ending up with songs that are being seemingly sung by particular vocalists and they're not actually singing them at all. It's just AI imitating their voice. So yeah, I understand why this question's being asked, but all I can say is there's the information. You can make up your own minds about it. Unless I've got conclusive proof, I can't say one way or the other. But anyway, thank you guys for requesting this particular video for tonight. Keep those requests coming to requests@wingsofpegasus.com. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!